EDFU Foundation Incorporated utilizes science and the teachings of our ancestors to improve humanity. We want to reunite and uplift our family throughout the planet, investing in the future of humanity through our programs and advocacy. We seek to move our civilization from its current state to that of a Type 1 civilization on the Carter-Jeff civilization scale, and beyond in a spiritually holistic way. We stand by the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Durban Declaration, and Program of Action, and support United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals and environment justice. Support EDFU Foundation by checking out our page and subscribing.
Maskagro, peace and blessings, family. My name is Dimah Mahmoud. I am Nubian from the Sudanese side, or what is today called Sudan, and I greet you and bless you in my Nubian ancestors' tongue. I am here with EDFU Foundation. I am blessed to be a board member and their chiefess of strategy at the UN 67th Commission for the Status of Women, here with some amazing, dynamic, brilliant, resilient Daughters of the Horn, following up on our conversation from 2021, which was our first panel on Daughters of the Horn. We'll get into that a little bit, but I take a moment to acknowledge EDFU Foundation for the space, acknowledge GenderIt and APC for the support in moving forward with this journey, and acknowledge my dear sister, Tigist, for being a fantastic co-pilot, an instigator, a resister, and I yield to her as we introduce ourselves. Tigist.
Hello, I am very happy to be here. I'm very grateful for today. Earlier, I was saying like today it feels like normal is expensive. I'm going to continue doing that. Looking forward to the conversations as usual. One thing I know is when Dimah and I meet, most of the time things get wild and very organic. So I'm waiting to see what that organic conversation is going to be. So looking forward to it. Very happy to be here, and thank you, Dimah.
Thank you, sister. So some background information. The theme for CSW 67 is technology and innovation. And there is no better way to set the stage for this conversation, but to say that some of our sisters are having some technological challenges plugging through. And so let's right here, right now, presence the digital divide. That continues to evaporate from the space every time we talk about technology and innovation and how it's accessible and how it's a tool to change. So I just want to take a moment to presence that. Thankfully for the connection from Cecilia's end has been working, and that you are here, warrior queen, sister. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the family. Tell everyone who you are.
Hello, sisters. How are you? Greetings from Nairobi. Jambo. I'm Cecilia Maundu. I'm a broadcast journalist. I'm a digital security trainer. I work at the intersection of journalism, technology, and human rights. I also have a podcast. It's called Digital Data Podcast, where I discuss everything to do with cyber violence and the issue of just safety online, and also championing for the right for the girl child when it comes to the issue of technology. Yes, and I'm very excited to be here. I would rather be in New York, but I'm here.
So it's greener on the other side. Let me tell you what I will do to be on the continent with this cold weather out here. It may not look like it because we have the heater blasting inside, but this Daughter of the Horn don't do the cold. But I'm so grateful that you are here, that you are joining us, that you are with us, and also obviously for what we're going to be going into, for your amazing contribution for our edition for Daughters of the Horn. Before we do that, go to Tigist and just tell us a little bit, because this particular aspect of the journey was initiated by you. So I'd love for you to just give a bit of a foundation. And for those of you who are not familiar with the journal that we are speaking of, we'll drop in the comments section. You'll have the pinned comment to the link to our edition for Daughters of the Horn with GenderIt, where you can see all the contributions from the Daughters of the Horn. But for Tigist, how did this happen? What have you done?
So a little bit about myself first. I work in an international organization called Association for Progressive Communication. And within that big organization, there is a program called Women's Rights Program. And that I am a coordinator and research lead in a project called Feminist Internet Research Network. And part of that work is actually making sure that there is a continuous publication from the Global South by feminists and by technology, analysts or thinkers and creative beings in general. And so the backbone of Feminist Internet Network is actually GenderIt, in which you're going to share the website. And last year, as we call out for editions, and then our partners or people who know GenderIt do contribute. For example, Cecilia, who is here with us, has been publishing with us for many times and with her amazing, insightful work. But last year, we decided, you know what, actually, it's much better to give the ownership and editorial rights to people who are interested to become an editors in the different regions. So we have had an edition from Asia, an edition from LAC area, an edition from Africa, and I think that's all, if I'm not mistaken. So in each continent, there were people who are interested to do the work. And so when it's Africa, then I thought, actually, I want to do it. But I don't want to do it alone because I think it would be interesting to work with someone else. And I have had that with that connection, like in a very different, multiple ways with Dimah. And I know her ethics and I know her work and I know how philosophical she is and how she doesn't just take things as on the surface values. So she's always looking into the discourse behind it and how to understand it. And most of all, for me, it's the ways in which she loved the continent. And so, and specifically also the, Daughters of the Horn, like her interest in really working with Daughters of the Horn. And so I decided to speak to her and she was ready to kind of work with me. And so the African edition starts, becoming what it is. But then I must say, I was pregnant at that specific moment. I think I was 6 months or 5 months pregnant. And so I kind of have to step back because I needed to take care of this. And she carried it. She carried it through. And then I think this is also the reason why most of you didn't see me in the active engagement, but rather around the end, I came back with for content edition and other things. But I think most of the things were carried by Dimah. Thank you, sister, for carrying me and for carrying the space in such a grace and gratitude and elegance, honestly. And then when it comes to the content of them, because we are here to talk about the content, and I think we needed to really sit through and then finding a way to decide what to call the content. And that was when we start thinking, you know what, we are not comfortable with calling it anything, honestly, anything. Rather, we just prefer to make it what it is. And then again, being a creative being that she is, Dimah came up with how about, holding half of the sky. And I thought, actually, that's what it is, specifically being a woman in the continent and specifically in our corner. There is so much that needs to be said, so much that needs to be reflected upon. And I know women have had so much trouble, so much marginalization, oppression. At the same time, so much to give life and so much of activism, so much of revolution, so much of stuff that has been happening because of women. And so we decided, that's a better. So in some ways, if you look at the edition, it is actually not centered into tech, but at the same time, it centers tech. It's such a very interesting mirroring thing. Like, it gives you a different mirror image, which I really love. So it was not about online gender-based violence. It was not about access. It was not about anything else. It was just about, tell us your story. If you like, you can add technology. If you don't, it's also okay, because that's where you are. And I'm sure you guys will share your experience as you go through the process. But it was very organic, very open. We were very persistent in not really guiding people to write in a particular way. We were very persistent in shaping papers to align thematically. We were very okay with it being as erratic as it can be, as imperfect as it can be. And I guess in some ways also the space allowed us. I think the trust within the GenderIt team was also very good, because they kind of gave us that space. And it helps us not to feel like you have to be complacent of this or complacent of that, which was awesome. And in the end, the paper happened. I will say a little bit about each paper and how we have experienced it. But so far, I think this is how far I can get.
It's perfect. I probably would have taken 3 days to succinctly wrap what you so elegantly put here together. We've said this also in the call to action. I just want to, just in the name of honesty, when she said Dimah was happy to work with her, obviously I'm always happy to work with Tigist, but this particular project, I paused, I doubted myself, imposter syndrome had a festival in my honor when this request was put through, and I really didn't think I would be able to pull this off on my own. And just a simple, yes, you can, from this wonderful being. And I found myself surrendering and completely jumping in, which I'm very glad to, because this journey continues to be a massive learning experience. I want to take a moment and just give you a little bit of a background of EDFU Foundation and how this connection even started. EDFU Foundation was founded in 1999 in the US. And the intention for it is marrying science as well as ancestral knowledge to eradicate fear, to eliminate racism and structural violence. And to me, it was this bridge, this marrying, this looking for something that is beyond science, beyond academia, beyond knowledge, knowing and understanding that this is good, but it's not all there is, and that we need to, presence and learn what and who we are and where we're coming from, has introduced a very different angle to it. I joined EDFU in 2018. EDFU Foundation has ECOSOC status with the UN, which allows, that's a consultative status, which allows us to attend fora and convenings by the UN, as well as hold side events like this one. And in 2019, we could have held the side event, but entered the revolution in Sudan. And I started my sit-in outside the embassy of Sudan. And so there wasn't that capacity, but I knew this was something I really wanted to hold space for there. And then moved to the village, then COVID hit and everything went virtual. And as things continue to erupt in our region, as they continue to get very volatile, and we're losing connections, literally, whether it's the internet or blackout or just not being able to connect with our family, whether on the continent or in the diaspora, with CSW 2001, again, very, very organically, I sent a message to Tigist and I said, it's the last minute that's happening here. And we're having this conversation about Daughters of the Horn, and I would love for you to be present. And she made time. To me, this is a really, really big thing. Cecilia, with all that you are juggling, you made time to be here. Etenat, you made time out. And this is not to say anything about our other resistors and fellow Daughters of the Horn who are not present with us. We present each and every one of them, and not just the ones who were contributing to this Daughters of the Horn edition, but also for the sisters who were present for that first conversation, who instigated this, because again, it got so emotional. For those of you who haven't seen it, again, the link for last year's, for 2001 panel will be in the comments as well. It got so emotional, and the only thing that we were left with is that we need more of this. We don't know how, we don't know why, we don't know where, and we don't know with what capacity, but we know we need this space. And so here we are. I go off on tangents. So we center, and we have Etenat here, and the internet connection is solid, so we have your video. Please, welcome. Please introduce yourself. Who are you? And what are you doing here?
I identify myself as a writer. I don't say much.
Your writings say otherwise. We'll get into that shortly. I'd really love for us to take a moment to think, who are you holding the door for to enter this conversation, now or later? Who do you want to be part of this conversation at some point? Who are you holding space for alongside yourself? Cecilia, let's go to you.
Who am I holding this door for? I'm holding door for this woman or this young girl who has been vandalized and hated online. For this woman who had so much hope for technology, finally having something to be an equalizer. For this young girl who is from a rural village in Kenya, who's come to Nairobi with so much hope and then meets so much hostility. I'm holding the door so that they can know there's a ray of hope, and regardless of the situation that is behind them, there's something to look forward to. You know, I'm holding this door so that when my time comes to leave this space, I leave it better than I found it.
Thank you. And Nissi, who are you holding the door for?
I'm holding the door for sisters who suffer in the war, who raped, and their rape got justified. For the child soldiers, for the neighbor kids who I heard he died in the war, and for many others whom I don't know the name.
The connection was a little bit difficult to follow. I recognize that you were holding space for, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a martyr of the war. We take space to honor and hold space for that. For all the martyrs, for all their families, for all their loved ones. Thank you. Tigist, I see you're back. Welcome back. Who are you holding the door for to enter this conversation?
I actually don't know. Can I sit with it? Because there are so many things in my head. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, no sorries. House rules or space rules for when we have these conversations, but if there were, it'll be that there's no sorries. No, we are time. Sit with it. Take all the time you need. And it's perfectly okay not to know. As I'm asking the question, I'm thinking who I would hold the space for as well. And my go-to is usually to the martyrs and the martyrs' mothers. But Etenat got that. It's okay not to know. So thank you for coming through as genuinely as you always do. As I'm trying to have this conversation, in the back of my mind, I'm trying to see who I'm holding the door for as well. In Arabic, they say "Sahib balin kazzab." If you're sitting between two minds, you are lying to yourself and everyone else.